Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Daniel and Aaron.
Yes.
We are here and we are ready to teach you about a label.
Part 3.
Part 3. Yes, we've already done 2 labels prior to this. We are getting into the third label, which, actually talking to a lot of people, a lot of their companies, a lot of people use this product. If they don't use this specific product, they actually use this specific active ingredient.
A lot of it do.
Yes. Yeah. And the cool thing about this product and active ingredient is there's actually big companies out there that are selling this on the market to just residential homes. We'll actually say who it is here in just a minute, but they have the active ingredient in their product that they sell. So kind of interesting. So it's even out to the general public and to us. We just get the concentrated version. So we're able to kind of mix and match and make it a little stronger when we need it.
Yeah.
But the label is always a good thing. If you guys have not heard or listened to any of us, of our episodes going over the label, we've done Cilantro, which is the newer rodenticide that we're allowed to use in California. Outside of California, you can still use other rodenticides, but we wanted to cover that label because I think that's actually going to be the new standard here pretty soon across the United States. The other thing that we did is we did Alpine WSG, which is another really big product, and that is nationwide. I know a lot of guys that are using it in other states. So there's a lot of people using that product. But today, drum roll, I'll have Aaron throw it out there while I throw it up on the screen. What is today's label?
Today we are going over Bifen IT.
Okay. Fun thing about Bifen IT and CSI, we actually had one of the reps. I don't remember her name, so I do apologize for that. But she was actually on super educational. We're talking Sylvia level educational of the product, how it works, how it functions, how it affects the insect. And she went through all of these products, which is awesome. So go back and listen to that one. It is labeled CSI, but CSI makes this product. Bifen IT is actually the brand name of it, okay? The active ingredient is called bifenthrin. But I'm going to let Aaron take it away because I wanted to make that clear for whoever's just jumping in and watching now the labels and what labels are actually, what they mean and what they tell you while you're out in the field. And this is why we say, read it.
Yeah.
Read it. Now you can listen to it.
Label.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you haven't listened to the other ones, the purpose that Daniel and I wanted to start going over labels was to show you how easily accessible it is to get a lot of information that people think is so tough to figure out or get. It's literally, I have it pulled up on my phone, but it's in the back of you guys' chem bin every time. But
yeah.
Enough talk. Let's start going through it. Bifen IT labeled as an insecticide/termicide for prevention, control of termites, carpenter ants, and other pest structures to control pests in and around such areas as homes, commercial, industrial buildings, recreational areas, athletic fields, lawns, and ornamentals. Controls pests in livestock and poultry houses. So we went over the active ingredient, bifenthrin, the other ingredients. We went over on the last couple episodes. Active ingredients are what's actually targeting and killing the pest. The other ingredients is making up the rest of the substance, what's in that bottle. Mm-hmm. So if you get a bottle of Bifen, it's diluted, concentrated before you even dilute it in your backpack even more. It's not 100% bifenthrin that's in the bottle. You know what I mean?
No.
There has to be something to hold the bifenthrin, which is the other 92%.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty standard on every label. Right after the front page, you go down, you get into the first aid. If swallowed, if inhaled, if on skin or clothing or in eyes is probably more what you guys are going to see out in the field. I know you've had that story about, getting on your back and having that like sunburn type thing.
Yes. Yeah. That's Bifen for you.
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff.
Again, guys, it's really hard to swallow it unless you're like purposely trying to do it. But again, it kind of goes to show about the importance of the PPE. And when you're actually handling stuff, even if you're not putting in your backpack, if you're grabbing out of the chem bin, are you actually doing things properly with writing the right gloves and then washing your hands before you start eating sunflower seeds or eating food? There's little things to think about that can actually go a long way.
Yeah, and a quick side note with that first aid, talking about if swallowed, inhaled, and everything. In California, applicators who have the applicator license, the most basic license, they have to be trained on all pesticides that they use, and they have to go over the first aid on every single pesticide once a year. So we go over that with everybody. Branch two guys need it every other year. So you actually get a break that you don't have to. But if you do decide to buy a new product, guess what? Everyone has to be trained on that new product.
Yeah.
That's how that works. So this first aid and everything is something that everybody is going to go over and read. And then we go over the acute and chronic side effects when you are in contact with the product multiple times, things like that. That is all has to be part of that training. So when you're going through this and reading this, this is good because they're telling you, hey, if this gets on you, this is what's going on.
Right.
You swallow it, this is what you need to do. This is something that everybody should have and know. If you don't, go in and read the products. It actually is just on that second page. And you'll be able to see everything just in case something does happen out there.
Right.
Shouldn't if you're being smart, but it can happen by accident. I had it happen to me and I didn't even know until later that I connected it because it was, oh yeah, Bifen does this. And it's like, okay, I remember now.
Right.
You know, and then the other case is when somebody accidentally hit the Axol machine and it sprayed me in the face. I was only knocking doors. I was a salesman, so I did not have PPE on. I didn't need PPE, but it was right there. He accidentally hit that handle and it hit me in the face. So it can happen. You know, some of this stuff can happen, but knowing the label and knowing what it is, he didn't even know. And this tech was like a 15-year tech. And he had no idea because I'm like, dude, what do I do? What do I need to do? Like, what does this mean? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know?
Yeah. What do you, I'm asking you.
Like, what product is in there? Like, what did I just get in my mouth? And he's like, I don't know. Just go like wash it out. I'm like, oh, am I going to get sick? Like, is something going to happen? He's like, I think you'll be all right.
You'll be good. Yeah.
I'm like, what? You think? So read the label.
Yeah. No, it's really good. So with that, precautionary statements right underneath. Without going too deep into it, there are some good points in there. Harmful swallowed, inhaled, absorbed through skin. The next paragraph, all pesticide handlers, mixers, loaders, and applicators must wear a long sleeve shirt, long pants, socks, shoes, chemical resistant gloves after the product is diluted in accordance with the label directions for use and or when mixing and loading using a closed spray tank transfer system or an inline injector system. Shirt, pants, socks, shoes, and waterproof gloves are sufficient. So it really does break down all labels that we're going to go through are going to have just your generalized like PPE standards, but it is nice to have that under there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Skipping over some of the environmental hazards and physical and chemical hazards, you get into the directions for use, which is kind of just like a blanket. You know, when you start getting into the target pests, you start getting real specific on where and how to treat for it. But on this one, gives you a nice overview saying, do not apply a broadcast application to interior surfaces of homes. Do not apply by air. Do not apply in nurseries. Do not apply this product through any kind of irrigation system. Not for use on sod, farm turf, golf course turf, or grass grown for seed. Don't apply to pets, crops, sources of electricity. Firewood is not to be treated. Use only in well-ventilated areas. List goes on, right? So it's very just like, okay, where can I spray it? Where can't I spray it? You get that gist down, and then later on we'll go over and like where the specific pests are and what that looks like.
Yeah.
So
and you can spray. I mean, at least everyone I've talked to who uses this product mainly is for the exterior of homes and businesses. So as we get deeper into the label, unless the label has changed, from my understanding is you can spray it on the inside. We'll go over the restrictions there because it also says spray in a well-ventilated area, which means outside, right? But some people may say, well, the windows are open, the fan's on, so we're good. But I think it is on there. It may have changed, so it may not be on there. Once we get to it, I'll clarify that again. But most of the time, this product, along with some of the other name brand, I think the big name brand one is Masterline,
okay,
which is Bifen I.
Yeah.
So it's the same exact product. This is just a different name. made by a different company. And I'm sure there's other ones out there that you can use with bifenthrin, just once again, different name.
Yeah.
But most people are using this on the exterior houses. So
easy enough. Let's scroll down to page 5. Something that you pointed out, which I liked, resistance management.
Yeah.
So some insects are known to develop resistance to products used repeatedly for control. Because the development of resistance cannot be predicted, the use of this product should conform to resistance management strategies established for the use area. Consult your local state pest management authorities for details, or DNA Pest Podcast. If resistance to this product develops in your area, this product or other products with similar mode of action may not provide adequate control. If poor performance cannot be attributed to improper application or extreme weather conditions, a resistant strain of insect may be present. You want to elaborate on that?
Yes. So insects, just like humans, when we get sick or a virus, we can build an immunity to it. And that's exactly what insects do in simple. I'm sure there's a lot more scientific stuff behind it, but that's essentially what they're doing, right? They're building a resistance against a certain product, which was very interesting because Alpine did not have resistant management.
It did not
on there, but Alpine is a different active ingredient. But I talked to somebody about this. And so this actually goes in really well with resistant management is I talked to a guy and I was talking to him about this and about the product itself. And he said the big issue, and we actually had an episode on this talking about it, is a big issue. What guys will do out in the field is they spray Bifen, right? So bifenthrin. They don't get results, or good enough results. So then they say, okay, well, I'm going to use Masterline. Well, Masterline is bifenthrin. So you're using a different name brand, but you're using the same active ingredient. Mm-hmm. So if you're using the same active ingredient, you're going to get the same results. So the idea behind the resistant management and why they say ask your ag department, blah, 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 and they don't want to really get in there because they're telling you use a different active ingredient. Yeah. They say modes of action, which is true too. How it's affecting the insect, they could have that resistance, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're consuming it and still dying, then that mode of action will still work.
Sure.
But if it's getting onto them and they're absorbing it into their system, that may not work, right? So different modes of action is going to be a little bit different. But the idea is actually switching up the active ingredient altogether. Some companies, which I don't even know how true it is, some companies say they will actually cycle products. So if we used Bifen IT for 5 years, we're now going to use a different product for the next couple of years on our customers that we have. Yeah. Right. Now, once again, you still don't know because if that person just switched companies and that company was using the exact same product you've been using for 5 years, well, now you're going to try to get a dozen different products on vehicles in hopes that you know which was used and when. And But anyway, the idea behind it is resistant management is if you're using the product at the proper dilution rate and what the label states, you should be okay. And like it says, is weather a factor? Is application a factor? I would even be surprised. They didn't say dilution, did they?
Not yet.
No. So dilution is going to be a factor into that resistant management. But as you get further into it, you're probably never going to run into a resistant insect, at least on a residential home that you can't take with another product. We spray the interior of houses with a different product that we're using on the exterior. So it's probably never going to get resistant as long as it's hitting those two different active ingredients and dying before it can pass anything on.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was kind of cool that they did mention that. I thought that was awesome. I was like, oh, wait a minute. They talk about resistance too, huh? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, another point too, is we were talking before, and I didn't know this, but the Ortho Home Defense, I was at a customer's house.
We were going to say that's the name brand that you can get it at a store.
Big surprise. Your customers say, oh, I got Home Defense. It's been working great. I actually looked at the bottle of it the other day. It was under a guy's sink. And I'm like, at the active ingredients, it's just bifenthrin.
It is.
It's literally just Bifen. They're just giving Bifen to homeowners and just saying good luck. And then we go out there And we wonder why stuff isn't working sometimes. Like, oh, they've been just like pissing out Bifen around their house for the past 2 years and the wrong dilution rates, the wrong methods, you know?
Well, so when we get into the dilution rates, they actually, now you're going to see this, is they put it at literally the minimum of what you can, of what they say on the label.
Okay.
Yeah. So people don't know that, but now you guys know that. You can relay that onto your customer. Is they literally go off of the minimal amount that you'll put into it, and that's what they dilute home defense to.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
like
people have no idea.
it's like you got the ortho home defense, and then we were even kind of talking about that pesty thing where they're sending him like the pre-mixed thing where they make their own. It's not good.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But under resistance management, you have application directions. It's not too specific, so we won't go in depth on that. It does have subterranean termite control. On the business side, we actually do not have our termite license yet. So it is on there, but we're not going to go into what that looks like. Let's jump to page 15, you said?
Yeah. So
14.
the next part underneath that for everybody is all termites. So we're gonna skip over that. If you do termite applications, go ahead and dive into the label. It's just a few pages, about 10. I think we said 13, right?
Or 14.
Nope, sorry, 14. So yeah, page 14 is where it continues.
Perfect. So 14, after the termite section, it goes into food handling establishments. So it's pretty cool because it just actually specifies it, place that deals with food, and it kind of overviews it. So it says, if used as a general spot, surface, or crack and crevice treatment, Bifen IT may be applied in both feed and non-food areas of food handling establishments. It will provide up to 1 month of residual control of houseflies. Length of residual control is dependent upon rate and surface treated. So it says food/feed handling establishments are any place other than private residences where exposed food is being held. Skip down, it says non-food areas in which applications are allowed include entries, vestibules, floor drains to sewers, garages. So it's basically saying, yes, you can spray this in a food handling establishment, but there are ways to do it and ways not to do it.
Well, and the other thing I like, this is where customers want a good answer, and this is where technicians literally just like, here you go. They don't know what they're saying. And this is on the label. This is from CSI. This is their label. Okay. If they're mad at me saying that, well, they're the ones who made it. They're the ones who pushed this. This is the ones that are slapping it onto their product. Okay. It is saying if used as a general spot, surface, or crack or crevice treatment, right? Then it's telling you this is what can happen. So Bifen IT will provide up to 1 month residual control of house flies. And then it goes on. Length of residual control is dependent upon what? Rate and surface treated. It is telling you we don't know. In a perfect situation, it will do this. In a situation out in the wild, we don't know.
Which is every situation out there.
Exactly, right? They haven't hit every situation. They haven't studied every single situation, nor do they have time and the resources and the money to put this product out. We already know it almost costs them $1 billion to put out a product.
Yeah.
You know, so, or whatever it was, 250 million is what she said.
It was creeping up on $1 billion.
I thought it was. Yeah, it was an insane amount of money. But that's what you guys need to understand. If I spray this outside in a perfect situation, only on that perfect surface, this is how long it's going to last. You guys need to know that, so you're not just pulling out information and giving it to customers. That's one pet peeve of mine. I'll get worked up and I go on forever. But don't lie to the customer. If you don't know, say, I don't know. That's what I say.
Yeah.
People are asking me, cilantro safe? Is it this? Hey, as of right now, for as long as we have been using it, no secondary animal has been sick or died that we know of. I'm telling them the truth. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And according to them, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So read the label. This is why it's important to read it.
Definitely. And I like that you went over that as well. And underneath that, under the food handling establishment. It still has general surface applications, spot,
Mhm.
crack, and crevice application, and foam applications, which are cool because those are still tied in specifically to the food handling places. Now, jumping to the next page, so you're getting into indoor uses. In the home, cover all food processing surface utensils during treatment, thoroughly wash before reuse. During overhead applications or overhead interior areas of structures, cover surfaces below with plastic sheeting, similar materials. It tells you wear protective clothing, unvented goggles, gloves, respirators. And then it has a long list of pests that it can treat for, which it'll really break down in the next few pages. But we actually have a new hire that I was training yesterday. I was telling Daniel this before we started
Mm,
recording.
that's right.
And we get to this guy's house and we're doing a basic exterior treatment, foundations, eaves, under windows, and we're using Bifen. And he pops open his garage. And the guy asked me, the new guy that's with us, I mean, he's a seasoned technician, but he's new to the company. And he asked, he's like, "Are you going to spray Bifen in the garage?" He's like, "Can you do that?" I'm like, I don't know. So I started, I grab the bottle, and I rip the label, I'm reading it. And this guy's looking at me like I'm crazy. He's like, "Dude, how long I've been doing this, you're like the second person to ever read the label." And I'm like, that's terrifying. That like, because I even told him, I'm
Yeah.
like, a minute ago, you asked me about dilution. Now you asked me about indoor treatment. I'm like, I think I know, but my memory's terrible. So let's find out.
Yeah. Let's look at it.
Come to find out, yes, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was right. You can still spray it on the inside.
Yep.
But follow the rules.
Yeah. So indoor treatments, and this is exactly what I read to him yesterday. Apply where pests hide. These areas include, but are not limited to, baseboards, corners, storage areas, closets, around water pipes, doors and windows, attic eaves, behind and under fridges. It's basically saying everywhere. That's why they have that blanket
Yes.
of it includes, but not limited to, where the pests hide. They could be everywhere. That doesn't mean you need to soak the ceiling to the walls to the floors. It's not what
Mhm.
it's saying. It's saying, hey, if a guy has, some like Turkestan cockroaches or something in the garage, like behind the dryer or by the door threshold, it's like, yes, you can spray Bifen in those areas as long as you follow the label.
Yeah. And it actually below that says not used for a space spray. So that would be like your Axel machine, or your B&G high pressure or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you can't have a space spray. It's not going to be going up into the air. That's not what this product is meant for. It's not for foggers. It's not for that. ULV, I think it is. ULV machines or something like that. But yeah, so reading that, that's exactly where it is. It even says look for foam applications if you're doing crack and crevices, right?
Yeah.
So it's giving you ideas even how to take care of all these pests.
Mm-hmm. Underneath, you have mixing directions. So it says to make a dilution for brush or spray treatments, dilute Bifen IT with water. Fill sprayer with the required amount of water. Bifen IT. To ensure proper mixing, close sprayer and shake before use. Only mix the amount of solution that is necessary for the treatment. In order to achieve and or maintain control in times of high pest pressure, retreatment may be needed. Repeat application should only take place if there are signs of renewed insect activity and must not exceed one application per 7 days. Whoa. What did we just learn? People calling in the office. So guys get a their first time spray. They're calling 4 days later. I paid all this money. I need to get retreated. You guys suck. Someone who's not really doing the quality control or checking on it sends out a technician. Technician is like, I was just here 4 days ago, but don't worry. I'll spray extra heavy for you. Screwing everything up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the label. I even closed my phone because I got worked up. Because it literally says on there, if you're going to retreat it, you have to wait 7 days. You know how powerful that is when a customer's pissed off and they say, why aren't you going to treat it today? Per the label, we have to wait 7 days if you want to get the results you're looking for.
Yep.
You have to.
Yep. Or you spray another product.
No, that too.
Right. So, and that's where it comes in crucial as we get into the dilution rates. That's exactly what you're going to have to follow. Some guys go really lenient and they're like, but I'm not using any product for you. So I'm saving you all this money. And it's like, I never asked you to. I'm asking you to do a good job. So do a good job. That means proper dilution rates, not going over or exceeding the limit. but also not going below the limit that you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Customers are paying for a service, give them that service.
Yeah.
So reading that label and understand that. But also having that 7 days interval in your back pocket is really smart. We did it with Alpine WSG. I actually had to look that up and send that over to a guy because he was spraying a unit every 7 days. They're psycho. But he has to spray that unit every 7 days. And he's like, can I even do that?
Mhm.
And you can, per the Alpine label.
Yeah.
But with Bifen, it would be right on that cusp.
Yeah.
So you're riding the line, but I guess technically you could if
Yeah.
it's 7 days. But it is a good excuse to let customers know, hey, look, I can do the treatment. I have to use a different product. And then with a different product, I have to do it differently.
Mhm.
Or if we're going to use the same product, we got to wait at least 7 days.
Yeah.
But you know what comes before that? Educating the customer before you spray.
Bingo.
Yep. So every start service, which actually I'm going to go out and do later this afternoon, which is nice. So when you guys hear this treatment would already be done and gone, but I always let them know. First time I come out and spray, and we use Bifen. So I'm going to use Bifen on the property. And I let them know, hey, that first week, you're probably going to see a lot of dead bugs and you're going to see a lot of activity. It's not because they're dying. It's we're hitting the cracks and crevices. We're hitting the hiding places, and we're going to be flushing them out of those areas. So you're going to see a lot of dead insects. That's okay.
Mhm.
Give it a week or so.
Yeah.
And then if you're still seeing a ton of activity, call us. We need to come out.
100%.
But give it a week or so. And then you never run into that issue of
Yeah.
come back out. You guys it didn't work, blah, blah, blah. Did you educate them from the beginning? If you did, you're not going to have an issue.
There you go.
So bed bugs. I did not know you could use this for bed bugs.
I know. Well, quickly before that. So ants, apply to any ant trails out, or apply to any ant trails around doors and windows and other places that ants frequent.
Yeah. Kind of a weird way to say it, but
yeah, my English isn't great, but yeah,
no, they have, because this label. So what they do is, just so everyone knows, this is what they have. So every little verbiage, that's why they'll say limited to or not limited to,
includes but not limited to.
It's all lawyer. This is a lawyer sat down and wrote this label for them.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the EPA has to go and accept the label.
Yeah.
And then they'll tweak the label as they do studies and things like that. Then they have to go in and tweak the label like Termidor.
Yeah.
But it's all legal jargon. So they have to put that in. So if you go and do an application, you can say, but it says here, and they say yes, but it says places that ants frequent. Where do they frequent? And then they'll bring in their specialists and they talk about where ants. Yep. But it's all the legal. That's all the legal terms. That's why it's so sometimes the label, and it is hard for guys to read a label because it is all legal talk, but they have to do it that way.
Yeah.
So it's really nice when they do say baseboards and they're very specific of what they say, or they're very lenient about what they say.
Because then you know.
And the ag department can't do anything.
Right.
Because if they come in and they're like, yeah, but you sprayed the baseboard, and it's like, and look, it says baseboard. Mm-hmm. Tell me that's not a baseboard.
Right.
And now they have to figure out a way to make that not a baseboard.
Right. Right.
So it's really nice when they do that, but it is also difficult when you're reading the label because it gets really funky on how they structure a sentence.
Yeah.
For the legal rules. So it's kind of weird, but
it makes sense though. I get it.
Yeah.
But scrolling down, like you said, it jumped out at me. Bed bugs.
Yeah.
Thorough application should be made to crack and crevices where evidence of bed bugs occurs. Areas of application include bed frames, box springs inside empty dressers, and closed closets and carpet edges, high and low wall moldings, and wallpaper edges. Do not use this product on bed linens, pillows, mattresses, or clothes. Remove all clothes and other articles from dressers or clothes before application. Allow all treated areas to thoroughly dry. So really cool. And even just 5 minutes ago, I didn't know you could use Bifen for bed bugs. We're doing bed bug treatments all the time. I use Bifen all the time, but not for bed bugs. So now I know that you can. Probably won't, but it's nice that you can.
I think that's where your resistance comes in.
100%.
You want to be careful with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scrolling down, bees and wasps. Apply to nests late evening where the pests are at rest. That's cool. I didn't even have stuff on that. So apply to nests late in the evening when these pests are at rest. Spray nests, entrances to nests, and surrounding areas thoroughly. Contact as many insects as possible. Retreat if signs of renewed activity exist. Spray liberally into hiding and breeding places, especially under attic rafters, contacting as many insects as possible. And we're not going to go through every single one, but it goes through like box elder beetles, earwigs, beetles, cockroaches, fleas. Scroll down to page 17. You have livestock and poultry housing structures. So if you guys are spraying ranches, barns, someone wants you to spray some stables, very clear. So it shows controls pests of poultry and livestock facilities, including blah, blah, blah. For occupied areas, apply to indoor cracks and crevices only. Exterior applications to walls and foundation perimeters can help prevent interior infestations of flying and crawling insect pests. Apply Bifen IT at a rate equivalent of 0.33 to 1 fluid ounce per 1,000 square feet. Very specific there.
Real quick, if your math is a little bit better than most, this is where it's actually kind of cool. So when they say 0.33 to 1 fluid ounce per 1,000 square feet, the nice thing is you can start adjusting these numbers depending on how much you're spraying,
how much water you're actually mixing in.
Yeah, so you can actually go higher concentrated amount, but less spray. So you're making it either a fan spray and you're moving quicker to cover the same amount of area with less liquid, but more product in there, or vice versa. You can do different things like that. So when you get into the label itself, they actually had these classes back in the day. They don't do it anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know why, but there's actually ways to measure your B&G sprayer. So you'll take your B&G sprayer, you'll fill it up with water to the gallon mark, and then you'll take a 5-gallon bucket and you'll actually pump up your sprayer. And what they do is they have you walk. Someone will hold the bucket for you, and then you'll walk and you'll spray into the bucket, and you'll walk at the rate that you normally walk at, right? And so then you time yourself, and then you can do the math to know when I walk and I'm spraying, I'm going to put out, a quarter gallon, or so many ounces of product.
Yeah.
And so then you can start to time how much it would be for 1,000 square feet.
Oh, okay.
And then you start to measure yourself. They don't do it anymore. They kind of destroyed it. They just don't care. I think it's a lot of work. I think that's why techs aren't as good as they are today. They were better back then because they knew if I walked at my normal rate, I would spray X amount, and I knew how much I was spraying.
Yeah.
Because they would have to go through these tests. And I think I was like literally the tail end of that. And then they pretty much just threw it away. It's garbage. Yeah. So when you see these 0.33 to 1 fluid ounce per 1,000 square feet, you can start to manipulate it. And in very rare cases, the ag department's not going to care anyway. And they're not going to come and try to check that. But you can get pretty creative with it on the label, because the idea is you got to stay underneath that or at that rate to be legal. If you go above that, you're now doing it illegally.
I see.
So you can manipulate those numbers if you're good at math and you understand how to manipulate that. So, but they do try to make it very simple for you.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And what's also cool about the label itself is it'll have sections based on different areas you're treating. Like on page 18, you get into lawns. And for the next 4 pages, it's literally just lawns, lawn application rates. So quickly graze through it. For lawns, use Bifen IT as a broadcast treatment to accomplish uniform control when applying to dense grass foliage. Use volumes of up to 10 gallons per 1,000 square feet. Get into lawn application rates. You start getting specific onto which pests you're treating, right? So you go down, you see everything from cutworms, sod, webworm. I have no idea what those are. Down low, you get like crane flies, ants, mole crickets, stink bugs, ticks, and it has all that on there. Now, jumping over to the page 20 and 21, it's cool is after it shows you the dilution rates for those specific pests, it'll tell you how to actually control that pest from the chart above in the lawn section itself. So it's like, okay, this lady has this pest in her lawn area. I figured out the dilution rates. Now I'm going to go to that pest, and let's say it's just scroll down to like crane flies. I didn't know you can do it with crane flies. Treatment can be made to control early to mid-season larvae as they feed on plant crowns. Treatments made late-season larvae may only provide suppression. Stuff you never even realized that was on there.
Yeah, no, honestly.
But it's cool because then you get the Bifen IT lawn dilution chart. Again, this is just for the lawn itself, you know.
Yeah.
And then after that, you start getting into more ornamentals and trees, greenhouses and interior scapes. Get into the Bifen ornamental dilution chart. Anything you want to come over? I'm kind of just blowing through.
No.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
when something pops out that's more
Substantial. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this just goes back. You guys are seeing the dilution rates. You're seeing where it says gallon, 5 gallon, 10 gallon, 100 gallon, over 1,000 square feet, what the dilution rate looks like. You know, those are now, we're talking about fields. You know, you're mixing 100 gallons. What are you doing? You're not doing a route. You're not spraying houses. You know, you're going further into it. But that's exactly what we're talking about. Is you're jumping in and you see these numbers, understand that the math into it, you can start to manipulate these numbers a little bit so that you're using less water or less product or more product in that dilution rate, but you're spraying it in a different method, right? A different way. So you're using less water, but it all has to come out to be about the same. But you can manipulate some of these numbers. I don't want to confuse people, but you can, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, but they're trying to make it very simple because in most cases, you're going to have 100-gallon tank on the back of a truck, a nursery truck, whatever it is. And that's going to go into your boom sprayer and you're going to need to know that mixture rate.
Yeah.
How many gallons of Bifen am I dumping into that 100-gallon tank? You know, you need to know all those things.
Yeah.
So it's always good, but this is all it's going over is essentially for these applications and for these specific pests, which if you didn't know, now you do know that they can treat, right?
Exactly.
What page you go down to?
I jumped down to page 26.
Okay.
Because that is the end of the
lawn treatment,
the lawn ornamental stuff. So page 26. And again, you guys follow along on some of the bold items. The bold is going to tell you either the pest or the area or something different, right? So I'm scrolling down. Pest control on outside surfaces and around buildings where we have our bread and butter.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So Bifen IT will provide up to 1 month of residual for our house flies. And we actually went over that in the other one. It goes over a quick laundry list of all the things that it does treat for. Then under that, mixing directions. So suspension to Bifen IT per gallon of water and remarks.
And so this is where it says, so this is what we teach our guys here is your suspension is 0.02%, which is 0.33 fluid ounces per gallon of water, right? So if you want to go up to the 1 fluid ounce per gallon of water, that would put it at a 0.06, you know, and that is going to be 1 fluid ounce per gallon of water, which it even says over here with the remarks, repeat application only if there is evidence of renewed insect activity and not more than once per 7 days.
Nice.
So even for residential homes, it's keeping the same rules and it's telling you how much you need to put in. And so your max here is 1 fluid ounce per gallon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. Underneath have perimeter treatment, treat a band of soil and vegetation 6 to 10 feet wide around and next to the structure and the foundation of the structure to a height of 2 to 3 feet.
Hold on. Sorry, just pause. Okay. If you live in California, you cannot follow that.
Unless you have a QAL.
Yes, in part.
Okay.
Also, because there's a waterways law.
That's right.
That prevents certain products to be sprayed in a certain way. And so you have to follow that. So the label, this is a federal label. Okay. This is a blanket label over all 50 states. This is what you're allowed to do. Okay. Now you squeeze that back in and you go to a state level, even a city level. Thanks, Brian Goldman, for that. You know, where he's at, he has to go from town to town. And depending on their rules, he has to follow their rules, and their rules may be stricter than. Okay.
Mhm.
So you have federal. Okay. Well, I can start lower.
There you go.
Federal's here. You can go stricter than the federal. Okay. On a state level. On a city level, you can go stricter than the state level, right? And then you can do that. So essentially, you can get stricter as things go on, but it has to be at that federal level.
At that base level.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we saw that with some bids. We went into a federal bid, and the federal bid rules are very different than the state level rules
Oh, yeah.
for the bid. So you get different rules in different levels. This is your federal level. This is your standard across the board. States probably are okay with that. Obviously, this state is not okay with that.
Yeah.
So you read that, and if you're in California and like, but DNA said yes, but we corrected it.
Yes.
So don't follow the label. Label is law until the state comes out with something new.
Exactly.
And then the state is the law, not the label.
Now you know.
Yes.
Perfect. Goes over broadcast treatment of wood for the control of wood infesting insects and nuisance pests outside of structures. Next page.
Wait. We got to hit this too.
I was trying to get over it.
Don't go over it. No. You got to hit this too. Okay, guys, this is another cool thing. And this is why a lot of people are going to backpack sprayers. What did that say? Did you see it right there under the broadcast treatment of wood for the treatment of wood for the control of wood infesting insects? Okay. Now, this is something that you have to be interested. You have to see. They sneak this into some of these labels. So it says apply 0.06% dilution, which is 1 fluid ounce per gallon, with a fan spray using a maximum pressure of 25 psi. Whoa. So pretty low. So that means if you're using a tank sprayer that it has 30 psi, you are illegal. So that means your state agency that is over pest control could fine you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where you get the PSI and stuff, and where a lot of guys, because we actually moved from the truck sprayer to backpack sprayers, and everyone was like, "Oh, what? How do you do that? How did you?" We actually had some guys ask us questions like, "How did you make that transition?" But it's one, it's law, and you just have to. Two, it's just taking the time to educate your customers. But that's why.
Yeah.
Because some of these products are now coming out with your restriction on PSI because it will mist it so much that it'll get into the air and it'll drift. And they don't want the drift to happen. And so you're restricted on the PSI.
I see.
Yeah. So any guys out there running a truck and they have an actual tank sprayer in California and you're putting Bifen in there, you're probably going to get fined if the ag department stops you. And you have to have a pressure gauge on your tank to be legal. And so it's going to say how much pressure you're building up.
Okay.
Yeah. So some if you're using like SureFlow, there's some pumps out there that will go on lower PSI, but some of the other ones like we use from Pump Tech, that are like the forever pumps, those things can get up there on pressure.
Yeah.
So we would be illegal.
Huh.
Yeah. Interesting. Sorry.
No.
Keep going.
I'm glad you stopped me. Bifen IT perimeter application dilution chart. Pretty standard. This is just going over, like we went over the dilution rates before. On the very left, application volume gallons per 1,000 square feet goes all the way down, and then fluid ounces per. And then on the right, fluid ounces of Bifen IT diluted to these volumes of finished spray. So what that's saying is if I'm looking at that section, fluid ounces of Bifen IT diluted, if I have a 1 gallon tank or like a 1 gallon handheld or a 5 gallon backpack, looking at the surface area I need to treat, per the amount of 1,000 square feet, I can go over very quickly and see how much product I need to put in there to be properly diluted to treat for the pest per the label.
Yeah, they make it pretty easy.
They do. I like that in bold. Do not use household utensils to measure Bifen IT. Because right above that, it says 1 fluid ounce equals 2 tablespoons equals 6 teaspoons. Then it says don't use teaspoons to measure your IT.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, CSI.
Please. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, you know what? And then someone's going to freaking be eating their yogurt with it too.
I know. And then under that, we won't get too in depth, but after the dilution rates, like on the other dilution rates for the lawn and ornamentals, you're going to have for the specific pest based on what we just went over.
Mm-hmm.
So you go into fire ants, mosquito control. Underneath that on page 30, you have other pest control applications for pest ants indoors, where they have pest ants outdoors, and they give you tips, dilution rates, where to spray, depending on the density of vegetation, landscaping materials for the outside. On the inside, they go into more like baseboards, cracks, and crevices behind cabinets. So again, very simple, but it is laid out very nicely if you actually do some digging and find it, which took me about 5 seconds to pull up on my phone.
Yeah, it is very quick.
Because after that, you get into more of post, poles, other construction, pests under slabs, underground services. And then typically on any ending of the label, you're going to have storage and disposal, talking about store upright at room temperature, avoid exposure to extreme temperatures, pesticide disposal for spray mixture, rinse water that cannot be used according to label instructions, must be disposed of or at an approved waste disposal facility. Wait, what?
Hmm.
What does that mean?
What part?
Storage and disposal. So look at the middle bullet point. It says pesticide disposal. Pesticide, spray mixture or rinse water that cannot be used according to label instructions must be disposed of at an approved waste disposal facility.
Once again, this is the federal level.
Okay.
So, but yes, it is supposed to be, disposed of at one of the facilities. So interesting thing is here in California, we actually had one. They ran out of funding, which is, I don't even know how you do that. And they were turning people away, and they're like, oh, hey, those massive garbage bags full of old chemical bottles that you have. Sorry, no more funding. Can't drop those off here. I'm like, what? I can't drop these off. Like, this is what you guys do.
This is literally what you guys do.
Yeah, it was like October, and it's like you ran out of funding. I'm like, good.
Wow.
Yeah, like how did you do that? Okay, whatever. So then I just started doing what you need to do: triple rinse, cut, tear off the labels, tear off the caps, do everything like that, throw it away. Not knowing that that was actually okay until the ag department came in. I was just pissed off. I was like, I'm not going to follow it, Ben. You guys are ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to drive who knows how far out of my way to go find a disposal place to throw away these old bottles.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are insane if I'm doing that. I'm just going to chuck them into the freaking garbage can. Come to find out, the ag department actually, they did state that. They said, hey, it's actually okay just to throw them away. Okay. So I think what the state of California has done is they've made it to where if you're throwing this in the garbage, it's okay where it's going. It is an approved site where they're burying it, whatever they're doing, their process, and that follows what the label states. And I think they understood that is because they were putting it in a semi truck. You would actually have to go carry it in the back of the semi trailer and throw it in there. And it was just full of all sorts of chemicals, everything from every company. And then I don't know if they just took that to the dump anyway and just dumped it,
right?
Or if they actually had a facility. But I think what they looked at is, hey, it doesn't really matter anymore. As long as we're doing it the proper way, everyone's triple rinsing, we're fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that too. I mean, I guess it doesn't apply to us. They don't ask us to, so I mean, it doesn't, I don't know, kind of weird.
Exactly. Guys, point of all this, third installment of Reading the Label is read the label. The label's law has all the information you need. If you have questions, you have doubts, don't trust your memory. I know I don't. I go off of, especially training you guys. It's like, guys, read the label. All the information you have and need is on there. If you have stuck around with us for this long, thank you. This wasn't a huge glamorous episode, but the point of it is it's so much information, so easily accessible. You can use to train, quality control, explain to customers better, educate the customers better. You have so much more power than what you realize at like your tip of your fingertips or in the back of your truck. It's all right there.
And we didn't even dive into it. And it'll even tell you how to treat and where to treat. So we skimmed over so much information that's in there still that you can go back and read. Termite applications we skimmed over, food processing plants we skipped over. there's a lot of information that we skipped over.
Yeah.
Lawn treatments, saturation treatments, we skipped over all of that. So the label is going to go over quite a bit of information, and it is very important to do. And frequently, like you said, we use this product every day, and I still don't have the label memorized.
Yeah.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And we're not using it in every possibility that you can. So reading it frequently is huge. And especially if you're management and you're over guys, this is a big thing, right? Going back to even growth, this is what we were talking about growing. Make yourself more valuable. Read the labels. We got a guy who's like, you're the second one. Well, dude, you better have been one of them.
Yeah.
So there better have been 3, like you need to read the label
100%.
But it's something that we can all do. Like Aaron said, is we have it. We have the power to do it. I'm literally pulling it up on a laptop, showing you guys this isn't secret information that no one can get. This is actually readily available to literally everyone.
Yeah.
So use it to your advantage and learn from it.
Definitely. But guys, there's a label you do want us to go over. I mean, we're going over some of the most common ones we use. We're just kind of going down the list, but if there's anything you want us to cover, just let us know. If we get enough, votes for one, we'll make an episode out of it, or if we're going to do it on the end of the month Q&A. Either way, let us know. Thank you again for, all the support, the likes, the listens. I know we have different platforms we're putting this on. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching us on YouTube, following us on Facebook, Instagram, we've done a ton of traction. It's only possible thanks to you guys. I mean, Daniel and I are here on the weekend doing this for free because we love doing this and connecting with you guys. So please like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. And thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.